I think it was the Wall Street Journal that called me and asked me, what's the biggest brain hack for your money relationship? And I said, it's to get out of your brain. It's to get out of your head and into your body. I'm always following my body. That's how I make every life, money, business decision.
Hey folks, welcome to the Brilliant Body Podcast, a forum to learn about and liberate the brilliance of your body and ultimately to expand the meaning and experience of intelligence. Join me, Mezey, and other body masters to explore pioneering and varied perspectives on what it means and feels like to be embodied. So many people feel disconnected from their bodies due to emotional or physical pain, or even conditioning and lack of education. Others feel quite at home in their bodies, yet want to learn to have more pleasure, awareness, and access to the body's guidance. This podcast is for everybody. Each one of my trailblazing guests has studied their own bodies and others' bodies for decades and will share their expertise and unique mission, how to thrive as a body. So join us and reclaim your body's brilliance. My next guest, Bari Tessler, MA, is a financial therapist and a pioneer in the financial therapy field. She has a master's degree in Somatic Psychology from Naropa University, 1998. She then ran a bookkeeping business for therapists and artists. In 2001, she merged all her training and created a somatic-based financial therapy methodology that she's been teaching for 23 years. She is also the founder of The Art of Money, a financial therapy program and a mentor program for therapists, coaches, and financial professionals. Bari is the author of 2 books, The Art of Money, A Life-Changing Guide to Financial Happiness, and The Art of Money Workbook. Her work has been featured on Oprah.com, Inc.com, U.S. News and World Report, Rutgers Money, The Financial Times, USA Today, The Cut, Girl Boss, Nerd Wallet, Real Simple, Mind Body Green, and Redbook. She's also been featured on the cover of Experience Life and Mindful. Bari loves to read, dance, and enjoy dark chocolate. She lives in Boulder, Colorado with her husband, son, many cats, and a big puppy. And I am so excited and so honored to welcome the brilliant and very beautiful Bari Tessler.
Hi there.
I'm thrilled you're here and so honored. Truly, I'm deeply touched that you agreed to speak with me. I don't know anybody else who could talk about this topic, the intelligence of the body in relation to money. I think you're the only one on the planet, as far as I know. And
There's a few others, but I was definitely one of the first to be doing it.
I just want to start with, first of all, what does the body have to do with money?
Oh, that's a huge question.
I
But
know it is. We got to just go for the gusto here.
yeah, so I'll probably tell a few stories when I'm answering this question, and I'll back up a little bit and say that I took myself to graduate school at the age of 24 to study somatic body-centered psychotherapy. And the reason I did that, and I credit it to saving me in my 20s and getting me through my 20s and through my 30s and 40s and giving me a skill set that's been lifelong. So I asked my parents to go to therapy when I was 16. And they sent me to a male therapist and sent me to a talk therapist. And both of those were okay, but I really needed a woman and I really needed somatic body-centered psychotherapy. But I didn't even know that somatic psychology existed or what it was. I just knew that as a teenager, I would go into my room, shut the door, blast music, and move and dance out every single emotion that I was having, and then be able to walk out of the room and be calmer, understand what was going on with me, be able to articulate it to my parents, or just, be in a better space, in a better mood. And so I thought I made up dance movement therapy at one point, and I didn't make up anything. I just was like, oh, I'm going to integrate my dance background with my therapy background or interests. And I found graduate programs that, this is 30 years ago, 1994
Yeah.
to 1998, And when I heard that Naropa University had a graduate program, that there was one track dance movement therapy, one track somatic psychology, we had all the same classes. But because I came from a dance background, I got into the dance therapy program. We even had to audition, a dance audition, which is just kind of silly for a psychotherapy program, but that's how we were doing it, where the somatic psychology students, they came more from a body work background. They were
Ah,
all
yeah,
body,
yeah.
right? But we had all the same classes. We really, really did. So it's easier to say somatic psychology because, again, we had all the same classes. So I'm going to fast forward to answer your question, but fast forward was in my 20s, my topics, my favorite topics were the body, intimacy, sexuality, sensuality, food, grief, and death. That's what I thought my work would be, my therapy work would be. And it is, it's just through a different doorway. My thesis was on using self-created ritual and authentic movement practice to help young women move more into adulthood as really just helpful tools, self-created ritual, authentic movement. Anyway, so you see what my themes were in my 20s. And it wasn't until my student loan came due. So I got my degree, first wrote that 150-page thesis, did all my internship hours. I was working in the mental health field, working in hospice and bereavement, and then walked across the stage, and then my student loan came due. And it was that moment that I freaked out and had all these questions of how was I going to pay this back? I was still working in the mental health field with the master's, still making $11 an hour. So how the heck am I going to pay this student loan back? Number one. Number two, how did I train as a therapist and got an incredible education, which we'll talk about? And we never talked about money. How is that even possible that I trained as a therapist and we talked about every single topic under the sun, beyond the sun, and never did we talk about money emotions, money stories, how to help couples not fight about money, let alone start our own private practices with bookkeeping and so on. So it was such an obvious, glaring missing piece for me in our education. And I went back and was like, okay, did I get anything in college? No. What about high school? Oh, there was that one accounting class. And, oh, this is something we needed to learn in small increments from grade school on up. And I really thought I was the only one who had some level of money shame or, some of my own money emotions or money stories. And I started looking around at everyone that I knew from all different lineages and backgrounds and economic classes. And we all had money strengths and we all had money challenges. And there wasn't anyone I knew at any income level that did not have strengths and challenges or did not have funny things or weird things around money or challenging things or things that they didn't understand. It was such a glaring missing piece. And it was one of those moments where I'm either going to face this head on or I'm going to go running away. But every other big topic, I would get scared and then I would face it head on. So, of course, I knew I would do the same with this. But I decided to take on my relationship to money. And I started learning bookkeeping, which kind of blew my mind that I could do because as a dancer, creative person, I didn't think I could use the other side of my brain, or I wasn't great at math. So how could I learn a bookkeeping system? And if
Well,
you have someone who holds your hand and is patient and has chocolate breaks and crying breaks like I did when I was learning Quicken and QuickBooks and slowly learning it and eventually learning bookkeeping for myself. And then I wound up running a bookkeeping business for 4 years as a transition after my master's degree for other therapists and coaches and artists and creatives. And I always say I wasn't ready to be a therapist at 28 to 32. I just wasn't ready. So doing their books, they just threw their books at me, didn't want to have anything to do with it, had no idea I had a master's degree in psychology. They just were like, here, take my books, do them. And I always say I learned more about people's relationship to money during those 4 years than if I had been a therapist at that time. I learned about people's values and if they were spending or earning in alignment with their values. I saw cash flow patterns. I saw what was important to them. I saw family dynamics. I
mm,
saw money stories and money emotions and on and on. And so to get more current of what does the body have to say about money, those 4 years led me to a moment where I met a woman who became a mentor of mine, Tamara Slayton. She's long left her body, and I got to be with her the last 2 years of her life. It was quite an honor for me. And she was the first one to say, young lady, it's time for you to give a talk, on your method. And I was like, what method? What are you talking about? And because I was doing her bookkeeping and we were having chats and we were sitting in groups and passing around our numbers and sharing them, which is like getting naked. Like, let's print out a
Yeah.
profit and loss, our income and expense statement for just 1 month and pass it around the room and, share feedback and support. And it really felt like we were all getting naked with each other just by sharing our numbers. But when she asked me, I was starting to integrate all of my past psychotherapy training and all of this deep work as a somatic therapist, as a therapist that I had been steeped in for a decade, with all of these money skills and money management tools and bookkeeping that I was falling in love with. And I was seeing that there's some integrating here. So eventually what happened was she asked me to give a talk, and I didn't know what that would look like. So I went out for a walk in the woods and I said, how do I help my community have a more mindful, creative, savvy, empowered relationship to money? I probably had different words back then or different languaging. And I came back and I was starting to get there needs to be an integration of financial literacy and emotional literacy. And I started putting together my 3 phases that I'm still teaching. This is in 2001. So we're getting close to 25 years or 24 years, and it's money healing, money practices, and money maps. But here's what happened. The very first night that I went to go teach my first class, I gave a talk in front of 20 people. I was terrified. It went great. I was checking in with my body that entire talk. So one of the tools we learned in graduate school was the oscillation of checking in with yourself, oscillating out to the client, coming back to yourself, oscillating out. So that entire talk where I was starting to share my first financial therapy method in a group, of other humans, I was checking with my body, seeing the responses in the room, checking with my body, watching facial expresses, checking in with what I was feeling and my sensations, and then going out to the room. And I wound up giving a talk on my 3-phase method, the money healing, money practices, money maps. And what came out of that was, oh, we want to do a group with you. Okay, now I'll teach a 6-week class. And I was living in California in an apple orchard, and 10 people came over for their 6-week class. The very first evening, we're sitting in a circle of 10 people and me. And the first night, I just asked them to all share their money stories and family history and family of origin money stories. And I noticed everyone went into a freeze. Everyone shut down. Everyone had the deer in the headlights look. And I just was watching everyone going, what's going on? What's going on? And then it just hit me. It just hit me. I'm totally ignoring my decade training of somatic psychology. Let me back up here. And the very next week, I came back with, okay, everyone, I'm going to introduce you to a tool called the body check-in. And this will be one of the first tools. And I'm going to invite you, I'll say what it is in a second, but I'm going to invite you to bring a body check in to all of the money moments that happen on a daily basis. So when you're going to go have a money conversation with your spouse, with your parents, with your teenage kids, when you're going to tell your client your fees, when you're trying to make a money decision, a purchasing decision, small, medium, and large, you're at the thrift store. Do I need this? Do I want this? Do I already have, 5 of these in my closet? When you're at the car dealership, when you're online shopping, when you're looking at your bank accounts. So the body check-in, as you can imagine, and we all have different versions of it, is just stopping and pausing, closing your eyes or not, and just letting yourself notice anything that's happening in your body. First on a physical level, next on a sensation level, next emotional level, then where's your breathing in your body, how shallow, how full, where, what's the cadence, and then ending a body check-in always with resourcing, which in the 1990s we weren't calling it resourcing.
Yeah.
When I graduated in 1998, Peter Levine's first book came out. So ending a body check-in with what is one little adjustment that I can make right now to help me feel more okayness or presence or
Mm,
whatever quality you want to add. And so even just introducing the body check-in the second evening of my 6-week class changed everything. Changed everything, you know? And so when people come to me and say, and I know I'm just beginning to answer your question. So, right, we're just getting there. We're getting there.
there's so much there, and I have even more questions. So take your time.
Right, thank you. So, even just getting out of our head. So when people will say to me, I think it was the Wall Street Journal that called me and asked me, "What's the biggest brain hack for your money relationship?" And I said, "It's to get out of your brain. It's to get out of your head and into your body." So many of us need to get into our bodies to learn to listen, to help slow ourselves down. There is so much wisdom, as we know,
Mm,
being stored in our body in beautiful ways and some painful ways, but there's so much information here. So as we are learning our money emotions, as we are learning our money stories, as we're having a memory of our mom sitting at the kitchen table, anxiously paying bills,
mm,
or our parents fighting behind closed doors, or on and on. We all have, a lot of us have memories, you know, of money stories that happened. When people say to me, "What is the first thing you want people to do?" Like the first step. I love money dates and we get to them, and I love bookkeeping and we get to that. And I love how do you make a good money decision and all of that. But the first stop is always starting to invite body check-ins to all the daily money
mm,
moments before you're going to have the money conversation as prep, to check in, to let yourself notice what's going on, what do you need, what are you feeling, what would be helpful right now. Do you need to get a snack before you're going to have this money conversation? Do you need to hydrate? Do you need to go for a walk in nature? Or sometimes we forget before money conversation in the heat of the moment. We're in the middle and we're just like swearing, fighting with our partner. You know, we looked at the credit card statement and we went running to them while they're in the shower. And we're like, "You spent what on what?" Right? We all do these things. So, in the heat of the moment, to even remember a body check in could be so helpful.
mm,
Or after, as a debriefing, as a learning, how did that go? What am I noticing now? What am I feeling now? How can I fine tune for next time? What would we be different? And it never ends at the body check-in, you know? It doesn't mean like we don't get to the numbers, we don't get to all of that's so important, but the
yeah.
beginning practice is to slow down, check in with your body. What are you noticing? And it doesn't mean, as you know, you're immediately going to calm yourself down. I've done thousands of body check-ins.
Mm,
And I'll complete with this. I found myself, it's probably 9 years ago at this point. No, it's even longer. Okay, my son's 16, he was 4. It's 12 years ago.
mm,
We, on a Saturday, went to a favorite cafe to get our mochas with our family. There were little goats there. My son was so excited. It was a new cafe. We looked around the corner and my husband saw that there was a green car dealership that had the new Nissan Leafs, and my husband had always wanted an electric car. And he had been researching this Nissan Leaf for the last year. So, oh my God, there's used ones right there. And, you know, so of course, after the goats and the mochas, we walk on over there. And next thing you know, we're talking to the car salesman guy. He's talking about a test drive. We're about to go on a test drive. And we do all that. And then I notice that I'm starting to hyperventilate. I'm noticing that my breath is starting to go up, upward, which you can call hyperventilating or anxiety or whatever we want to call it. But I was noticing that. So I said to my husband and the car salesman, "I'm going to go to the bathroom," because the bathroom is a great place to do a body check in. If you're sitting with a financial planner at the office, you need a moment. I mean, you could do a body check in just sitting right there in the office and just say, "I need a moment." Or you can go to the bathroom because no one will know what you're doing. And I was in the bathroom and just doing a body check in. What am I noticing? Where am I noticing it? What are the sensations? Oh, I'm noticing that my breathing is going up, up, up in my body. Can I just notice it? Can I be with it? Can I name the emotion? It's anxiety a bit. Yes, I am kind of hyperventilating. What is this reminding me of? Oh, this is reminding me of a really hard money thing that my parents went through years ago. Okay, so how can you work with your breath right now? Like, can you get your breath to slow down? Can I get my breath deeper in my body? Now, again, body check-in number one, you may not know how to do that, but once you've done 50 body check-ins, then you'll go, oh, I know how to get my breath from going up in my body to going down a little bit. I can take a deeper breath. But first, I just need to name and acknowledge the emotion. What's the memory? What's going on here? Just be with the emotion. And then from there, I can say, now, once I had brought my breath down a bit, as I had sat with it, then I could go, now what practical things do I need to do? Oh, we need to have a money date. Me and my husband need to have a money date in the car dealership. But I needed to go to the bathroom. I didn't need to stay there forever. I didn't need to be in a body check-in forever. But yes, I needed to name the sensations, name where my breath was in my body, be with it, sit with it. What did it remind me of? Do some comforting with myself. Oh, here's another thing. I don't like to make fast money decisions. Years later, we bought a house in 36 hours and I led the charge. I led the way. But in this moment, I was like, I don't like to make fast money decisions. So I came back out and we wound up just having a money date, a 15, 20-minute money date. We probably made up questions on the spot. Do we have the cash flow for this? Yes, because we look at our numbers. Is this purchase in alignment with our values? Yes, it's an electric car. Will this purchase hinder us buying a home one day, which was our larger goal? No, we didn't think it would.
Mhm.
So we had a little money date and came to the best decision that we could, drove off the lot with the car, and it was a
Yeah.
wonderful day. But my husband had, again, been researching for a year and so on. So to come back to the body check-in, I think if we don't, our body has a lot to say about everything. It has a lot to say about money.
Indeed.
It
Yeah.
has a lot to say. Our relationship to money is a relationship.
Yeah.
So every time we're going to make a choice or a decision, or we're out for dinner and the bill comes and we're out for dinner with friends, and what happens? You suddenly start having all sorts of different thoughts. Oh, well, they make more money than me, so they should pay. Or, oh, I have more money than them, so I should pay. Or who's going to pay? Should we split this evenly? Or
Hmm.
all sorts of things can show up in all of these different money moments. So it's great, just take a moment and say, what's going on in my body right now? And you may not have a full memory of what it reminds you of, or you may not have full understanding of, why am I feeling anxious right now? Or why am I feeling so sad? Or why am I feeling so angry? So it's work you can do later, but in the moment, even just to stop and
Hmm.
pause and slow yourself down and acknowledge there's something going on. Your body's trying to tell you something. Maybe you get clarity on what it is right away, like, oh, I love giving and I have extra right now, so I'm going to treat.
Hmm.
Or, you know what? It feels better to split this 50-50 right now. So let's do that. And
Hmm.
am I going to be brave enough to say that? You know? So there's just so many moments, but if we're just staying in our head in all of these moments, instead of like, give me a moment here, let me check in, let me see what's going on, again, on a physical level, sensation level, emotional level, breathing level, and then always a resource thing. Sometimes just lowering your shoulders and doing a little shoulder shimmy, loosening your jaw, putting your hand in your heart, giving yourself a full hug, whatever you need. Resourcing is what is one little adjustment that would just help me feel more calm, more okay, resource in this moment. So I'm going to pause there.
Yes, I have all kinds of things that are striking me. And one of them is that basically you're describing trauma work.
Yeah.
And this is so stunning to me that a lot of us do feel traumatized by our relationship or in relationship to money. And I am just really being with that. Everything you're describing self-regulation, you're describing, first of all, dissociation and the culture of dissociation most of us live in, of course, is a beginning point for all kinds of things, obviously, not just in our relationship to money. But when you describe that initial circle with 10 people in your living room, That's what was going on. So, what is this? Why is money so traumatic for so many of us? Some of it is because there wasn't enough. Some of it was because our parents were so focused on providing that they neglected us emotionally. Some people come from lots of money, and there is all kinds of issues with that. I mean, it's infinite, of course, but I am struck by why money is so traumatic, which is the answer to one of the questions I was going to ask you is why does it take so much courage to even look at it? And even as you're talking about this, my heart rate is lifting. I've been dealing with and struggling with a new phase of money challenges in my life lately. And so much of self value, self worth, family roles that don't die or that you are trying to update, all these different kinds of things are going on. Realize that's a big, it's kind of a question. And it's kind of just, wow, like I just need to feel and express some of what's going on, just having listened to that magnificent summation of so much of your work and what you share with the world. So, what is up with all this trauma? I mean, we know about why so many people are sexually traumatized, but what the hell's going on with why people are so financially traumatized?
Yeah, so that's not necessarily my word, although it's a fine word to use, and I'll speak to it. Again, my somatic psychology training and teachers, we weren't using self-regulation and
Yes.
trauma language
Yeah.
back then. That all came 1998 with Peter Levine's somatic experiencing work and so on. So I had incredible all women somatic teachers. We were just learning different models. So it wasn't even called trauma informed back then. We didn't even use that word. But
Hmm.
it's a lot of the same tools and practices and strategies and awareness and all of that. But here's a few things that I will say. One is that I'm going to go back to most of us, if not all of us, did not receive a full and complete financial literacy education from grade school on up in small increments. So we're learning this as adults. My
Yeah.
community is 25 to 85, 80 years old. Let's say I used to say 25 to 75. And it's a lot of older women. Even when I was doing this work in my 30s, there was a lot of older women for the first time learning about their relationship to money from a death, a divorce, the first time they were looking at their numbers or taking this on or really feeling empowered or feeling adult or their own agency here. So that's number one. So we weren't given a full financial literacy education, and then we weren't given any emotional literacy education. So that's where my work kind of merges. But that's just one thing. I always want to name that as a unshaming. Like no one that I know received a full, complete financial education, no matter what economic class they came from, no matter what lineage, maybe parts and pieces. My dad taught me how to use a manual checkbook register in the 80s.
I
I don't,
remember that. I think that's the only thing I learned. And just to your point, not only did I not have an education, it was not spoken about.
okay.
It was more taboo than sex and God. I mean,
Yes.
my mother and I talked about sex, but not about money. But my father, I had no idea how much money he earned. That wasn't something you could ask him about. It was really seriously taboo.
So that's my second point is that
Okay. Yeah.
yes, is that it's changing. It's changing. So there's now personal finance classes being taught in high school. Not the emotional side of it or the money psychology side of it, but
Yeah.
my teenager had a great personal finance class and he came home talking about investments and I was like, tell me more, tell me more. So it is changing a little bit, but to go back to this has just been one of those secret taboo things again in families and across the board. Whether you came from a very wealthy family and you were told do not talk about our money outside of the family,
Mm.
middle class family. My husband once asked my dad early on, I don't know why he did, something about how much did my dad made, and my dad said, "I'm not telling nothing to nobody." Okay, with a very strong Chicago
Uh,
accent, and we joke about that. My father passed away. Actually, he passed away right when my first book was being published. And I tell some stories about him in the book. Or if you come from a lower income family, it's like you do not talk about money outside the family. So there's so much secrecy. And yes, as a culture, we've had movements around sexuality and talking about sex. more. We've gone through a whole thing of that. And then death, now race. But money's on the radar now. We are having many more money conversations in the last 5 years to decade compared to when I started doing this work in 2001. I remember even being interviewed by the financial industry or financial influencers and them telling me, wow, your work is so woo woo, Bari. And I'm like, because I'm talking about emotions, really? Or I'm talking about the body, really? So
Uh-huh.
it still was so fringe. But again, just this is secretive taboo. Or if you're going to talk about money, it's really just black and white numbers. And guess what? I'm being facetious here or sarcastic. There's a right way to do money. There's one way to do it. You just got to live within your means, blah, blah, blah. And this is how you do it. And there's a lot of traditional money books that have the basics, which we need to learn. So yes, it would be great to live within your means. It is great to learn if you have debt, how to pay it down, how to invest, all these basic things. And guess what? 90% of our money decisions are based on our emotions. Or it's
Mm.
something like 85 to 95% of our money decisions are based on our emotions. So for all the MBAs and accounting and financial planning degrees that are not talking about money psychology and understanding how emotional this is for so many people, they're missing a lot. Now, again, that's changing. Like I've known and I collaborate with financial planners that were some of the first financial planners to bring in therapists into their meetings decades ago. So it's not part of our education. It's been so hidden in taboo, although that's changing. And I think when people start doing the work with me, it's what can I share? What should I share? How much? Because I know when I used to learn a new topic or I wanted to start screaming it from the rooftops, like about sex. That's all I wanted to talk about, or menopause. That's all I wanted to talk about, But with money, I do think it's important to find safe spaces, find safe people who've earned the right to hear your stories, and to, yes, monitor who you share, where you share. And at the same time, I am really inviting people to be brave and courageous and have new money conversations with the people closest to them. Maybe with a mom, like one question at a time. Like, tell me about that one time. Or, I mean, I have in my books, I have two books, and there's journaling questions and prompts in both my books and my programs. It's everything from what was your first money memory to the first time you made your own money. How did you do it? Did you get to keep the money or did you have to give it to your parents to put in the family pot because the family needed it? Or did you get to buy whatever you wanted? Or let's say with your siblings, if you had siblings, what was your financial identity? This is one of my favorite questions from an early age because I was given the role of spender because
Mhm.
I like things and I had desires and wants. And I was like my dad, where my mom and my siblings, sister and brother, they were more savers and frugal. One of my siblings had a bank at the age 5. So were these our natural roles? Were they taken on? I was the oldest. So mine was, I just wanted things. So I was the spender. And that kind of was given a negative connotation instead of I enjoy things, I like things, and had to learn later in life in my 30s, once I was actually making more than $11 an hour and starting to make a really good income and salary, that I could be a squirrel and a saver too. So my family of origin might still look at me as like, oh, you're the spender of the family, where my husband and son, they know that I'm pretty good at squirreling away money for the future for when that's needed, whether that's short term or long term. So I'm going to come back to, okay, financial education was missing. It's been so secretive and taboo. So how do we start having new, brave money conversations with safe people? Who is that? Is that our partners? I do say we need to do our own money work first and foremost. And if we don't have a willing partner, then we need to go forth and do it. Now, if it's a heterosexual couple, the woman usually goes first. Not always, but most of my community is women. Again, not all. I have some great men who want to do the work too. If it's a gay couple, it still can be just one person's ready, the other person's not. They're scared, they're in their own money story, or they're stuck in it. And so, who's ever ready to go forth, please go forth and start doing the work. Because I've seen this over and over. In 6 months in a year, your partner starts looking at you going, wow, you're different in the way you talk about money, or the way you ask me if we can have a money chat. You ask it in a different tone, or you seem more confident about your own numbers. And the person who's doing the money work is like, yes, I've learned body check-ins and I've learned a bookkeeping system that I feel comfortable with. It took me a while. And so you need to go forth. If you're ready to do the work and your partner's not, please go forth. I'll also say, but I'll stop here, that one of the chapters when I was writing my first book, now this was 10 years ago, it was published 8 years ago. One of the chapters that surprised us was it's about money and it's never about money. And
Mm,
I'll say more what that means or what's in that chapter. But what it means is that it's about money because, again, we did not get a complete financial education growing up. And it's been so secretive and taboo in our culture and society. So there's that. Where it's not about money is it is about these deeper themes that keep coming up and are connected to money directly or indirectly. And you've named quite a few of them already. So whether it's about our sense of value, self-worth, whether it's about our relationship to responsibility or security or enoughness or power dynamics, there's all these deeper themes that come up as we start exploring our money story. And here's the thing, our money story is not a static thing. It's not like one day you figure it out, you're done. It's not like one day you figure
mhm.
out your money emotions and they'll go away. You can definitely reduce the volume of them. You can decrease them, catch them sooner, learn all these tools to work with them. And our money story is something that can be rewritten, and our financial identities are something that can be updated. Like, oh, I'm a good spender, I can enjoy, and I can also be a really good saver. I can be both, you know? And so we can update our financial stories, but part of the work that we need to do is what I call the first phase before we get to all the practical stuff. It's the money healing. And part of that is, what are the set of money emotions that come up for you? Shame, anger, anxiety, guilt, jealousy, or the bigger ones like fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or joy, excitement, hope.
Yep.
What about the other side of the spectrum? And as we're exploring all of that, then what are the deeper themes that are coming up for us?
Mhm.
That we have connected with money. Everything from, as I already mentioned, my father, he was very generous and very controlling. And there were always strings attached. So there's a lot of generosity. And then here's some things, and they have strings attached as well.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
wasn't clear what those strings were. So I did feel there was always this power dynamic going on. That was really challenging for me as a teenager, young 20-something-year-old. I made a lot of money declarations because of that. I'm going to make my own money. I'm never going to be married to a man. I'm married to a man, but like all these things. And then I had to, in my 20s, not so much in graduate school around the money stuff, but power dynamics, and later my 20s, as I started doing my own money work, really unravel. Okay, so how do I unravel power dynamics? As my father was dying, did we come to a place of understanding and forgiveness with each other around lots of things, including money? I write about that in my book. How can I move from power dynamics into feeling empowered, my own empowerment? But that was one of the themes that I had to really work with. And I think I had all of them, like self-worth stuff, value stuff. Other people, it's really about, how do I become an adult? What does responsibility mean to me? But as we're doing this work, we have deeper themes that will be uncovered.
Mhm.
And that's part of doing our money work as well. Yeah.
I do want to come back to, though, why you wouldn't use the word trauma.
Yeah.
Obviously, some people are traumatized. Just the response physiologically.
It's not that I don't use that word. I do. I
Uh,
do. But someone gave me a negative book review. I have a lot of positive ones, but
I'm sure.
right? The negative one was, and it was a funny one. Some of them are very funny for me. So this was a funny one where he said, the author acts as though everyone has really strong, challenging money emotions. And,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to say, the author is a therapist. The author is a financial therapist. So everyone who comes to her share their very, very challenging money emotions. And yes, I mean, I do think small trauma to big trauma. I'm not a trained trauma therapist. So my work would be called trauma informed, and I'm a somatic therapist. But again, I just was doing that work before we were using trauma language.
Okay, just wanted to
That
clarify.
that that that's all it is. But
Yes.
some people experience money traumas directly related to a money interaction. or money exchange, or there's trauma about a money experience. And then other folks have really hard things in life, or so other direct money traumas are you lose your house, you have to do a foreclosure, or you have really big debt, and that feels really hard and challenging and could be seen as traumatic for you.
I'm just referring more to the insidious low grade trauma that's more of the cultural thing you were describing of it being shameful or taboo to even discuss or be educated about, particularly for women. So I want to just be clear that when I was talking about trauma, I wasn't necessarily talking about specific events, but
Mhm.
more like this physiological anxiety. And to be also clear, that's what I'm experiencing a lot of myself right now. So that happens to be sort of a lens of just the physiological response to even speaking about money with you today, or how many listeners will probably feel. Just you're describing having to put your numbers out in front of people and how naked that feels. And many people would rather show their genitals than show their books, you know? I just find that really really striking and kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, the first 7 years of my work from 2001 to until I got pregnant in 2007, 8-ish. But when I did live classes, we would share our numbers. We would just share 1 month, similar to what I was doing with my mentor back in the day. And the way we would do it is we would sit down and we would be holding our numbers to our chest or on our lap, so no one could even see them. And
Uh-huh.
we wouldn't have a debrief, we would have a we're going to prepare like everyone, we're about to share numbers. What's going on? What are you feeling? What's coming up? And there was one woman in the room who was like, I will tell you anything about my sex life right now if I do not have to show you my numbers. So she
Yeah.
didn't say, I will show you, I will get naked and like show you anything. She was like, I'll tell you anything about my sex life. And we didn't take her up on it. But yeah, it's the same thing where it is so deeply scary, and the range of emotions from shame to anxiety to anger to sadness to guilt to jealousy to the other end of the spectrum. And then maybe I just don't use the word trauma again because I went and got my degree in 1998 and then I didn't go and study
Yeah.
with Peter Levine. But it's still, I talk about fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And I
Yeah.
tell stories about it. And in my program, I'm always interviewing other people, other somatic therapists or trauma therapists who are more up to date with their studies, who did Peter Levine's training or other people's training. And we'll even talk about like you're going to sit down and have a money date and to check in with your body. And you notice that normally on a money date, you try to get it over and done with as fast as you humanly can. Like, I'm going to pay the bills as fast as I can. I just want to get this over and done with. And you're so speedy, and what's going on. And when you slow down, check in, you're terrified to just be with all the sensations or emotions or experiences or memories of what this is touching on. And what is it touching on? That's where it's so different. When it can happen when you go to pay bills, or it can
Yeah.
happen when you're going to have a money conversation with your spouse. Or why do so many couples that I know have great relationships, even great sex lives and great communication, and their fights are so intense around the money stuff? So, what's the deeper stuff that's coming up? That's where I feel, please do your own money work first, or bring some level of understanding to what was your mom's relationship to money? What was your dad's, or what were your grandparents, or where did your parents have to escape from during World War II? This goes into all of that, or lineages, painful
Exactly.
stories, beautiful stories. Yes.
This is where our work really overlaps because I'm all about the body maps that we have within us in relation to any particular person, thing, event, challenge. So you get into the family constellation work or the personal geometry work that I'm doing now, specializing in sexuality and addiction, but I've worked with money too. And you can have people externalize in seconds or minutes what their relationship is, how they geometrically experience their relationship to money and the unconscious loyalties that can be underneath that. If you can see, oh, money's always smack in front of me, or it's coming in at me from the side, or it's got its back to me 10 feet away on the floor, that
Yes.
there is this somatic reflection and felt sense of that is how I live this relationship. And why is that? What's in between? Who's in between? Where are my parents in that? And actually see it mapped is
Yes.
phenomenal. So I love how you're talking about these roles that we play too. And by the way, I am also a lover of beautiful things and was also always considered a spender, and how hard it is for those roles to die and transform and be released, as well as things like a parent who's very generous, as you say, but they have a vested interest in your staying financially dependent because they need you in some other way. If I could ask you a last question about this, because you've already been so generous with your time, is that okay if I ask you one?
Of course, I want to say that my private work is one session or three sessions. That's it. I don't like long, ongoing work. Or I teach in large groups now, very large groups online, and I'm taking you
Yeah.
through my three phases. So it's so important to me that even in my group programs, or even if I do a few sessions, private sessions that I said I'll do one session or three sessions, or folks come into my groups, I'm always saying, please, alongside this group program, get yourself some trusted somatic therapists, trauma therapists, family constellation, IFS family system people to go deeper, to hold your hand while you're going through my three phases, the money healing, money practices, money maps, but get some really trusted, beautiful therapists and practitioners to work with you side by side, my work, to go deeper, to go into the younger parts, to go into the childhood, to go back to the 8-year-old and to honor her and to have her give voice to what was going on for her, what was missing, what declarations she made, scoop her back up
Yeah,
and bring
yeah.
her forward. So just want to say that I'm always referring out or saying, please find your trusted solo practitioners and therapists
Hmm.
to do the deeper therapy and somatic and trauma work as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that, Barry. It's fantastic. I was just also hoping to include how many under earners there are, like how many people I know who have tremendous wealth in what they have to offer, that they keep hitting a ceiling. And a friend of mine actually just was talking about The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. You work with this incredible abundance of people who have so much to offer in the world, and yet you must keep seeing over and over again, perhaps certain patterns of why people tend to under earn and the discrepancy between what they have to offer and what they actually receive for what they offer.
So this is how I look at it. For a long time, my colleagues weren't calling it, it used to be overcoming under earning. So Barbara Stanny is a great book on overcoming under earning. Then Michael Ann Valterra, she's one of my longest colleague relationships. She's a financial coach who also has a master's in psychology, but she goes to the numbers first, where I go to money healing, money stories, money emotions first, because I think those are the essentials tools before you get to the money practices or before you're ready to learn a bookkeeping systems, you have to know how to self-regulate. Or again, it's a practice of learning how to self-regulate. You don't get it perfect each time. It's different each time. But she goes to the numbers first, but she always would call it healing earning issues.
Hmm.
That was her thing. But recently I went from teaching in a year-long group format for 11 years. I moved to a 3-month, and it was my husband's idea. He was just feeling in the zeitgeist that people are overwhelmed. There's too much going on personally in the larger world. People's attention spans are not what they used to be. A year is too long. Let's go back. And I've done every format possible, but I did a year for 11 years. I mean, I loved it, but I
I
just
did
fit.
that many years ago, and it's fantastic, and it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a
So I
it's a
love that
lot.
you're doing 3 months. I'm going to have to do that again. Yeah.
So it's really what's nice about it is I'm doing 12 live classes. and I'm breaking it down. So you get all the content, it's all up to date and all of that, and a great new teaching platform takes you through 12 modules of money healing, money practices, money maps. But the thing that's different about the 3 months is not just attention span. People needed more community interaction. So I do 12 live Zoom classes, and it's weekly for 3 months. And there's different themes each week. And one of the themes was overcoming under earning.
Mm.
And I realized I could do a whole class on overcoming under earning, a whole separate class unto itself. And I'll speak to it a little bit. There are internal practices and external practices. And then there's even spiritual practices. But the internal practices, I just did a reel that I put up on Instagram about this 2 weeks ago. Some of the internal practices for overcoming under earning. Now, one of them is, what is your money ceiling? Not looking at that as a bad thing or something's wrong. Guess what? We all have money ceilings. Now, money ceiling can be anything from the amount you make per hour to how much you bring in monthly to, am I bringing in money to cover 3 months, 6 months, a year? So money ceilings show up. A money ceiling could be the field that you're in. As a social worker, guess what? There's a money ceiling to that field. Now, I thought for a moment I'd be an advocate and activist and show the world how valuable social workers are and get everyone paid more. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to get paid more. And, that's why I went to bookkeeping and took a little detour before I came back around. So money ceilings could be, again, how much you're making per year. If you work for a company and you need to negotiate more money, you need to negotiate more. So, I don't see anything wrong with that. So what are your money ceilings? Whether that's an hourly amount. Back in the day, I just wanted to make more than $2,000. So I added in an overnight care job for elderly folks. Now, that's not always the answer to add in another job, but back in the day, that's what I did. I knew I was good at that. And I think it was 2,000 or 3,000. I really wanted to make that amount and see what it felt. Another moment, it might be raising private fees. Yes, raise them. But I'm not in the philosophy of always raise your fees or charge what you're worth. I don't like either of those phrases because I don't think you can ever put a numerical dollar number on our worth. We're invaluable. We cannot, there's no number. Yes, at the same time, we need to charge for our services and make a good living. But coming back to, I'm always saying, yeah, increase your personal private time fees, your private sessions, but groups, I wound up decreasing my fees at one point. I was having trouble filling a 50-person class. I kept getting 40 something, but it felt like I was pulling teeth. And I lowered the price point and turned it into my year-long program. And we went from getting 40 people to 320 people each year. And because the price point was so accessible to so many more people, the revenue jumped in a huge way.
Mm.
So it's not always just raise your fees. Sometimes for a group, maybe you lower them a bit to make it more accessible. You get more people. And then you
Yeah.
just broke through a money ceiling. So that's just one of the practices. Another practice is boundaries. Getting better at boundaries. No, thank you. Here are my yeses. Everything else is a no. When I had my son, everything's a no, except for these few little things. So there's all these practices. Get really clear on what you're good at and what you suck at. I created all these practices for internal things for how to overcome under earning. And then externally, I guess that is more of an external one of like, what are your money ceilings or where do you need to adjust your fees or your business model? So for me, it's not so much pattern. I'm not going to name the patterns. It's more that even I had a business partner for a while who was making a lot of money, but she was working in corporate accounting and she had no time. She was at
Mhm.
the office. So she put herself under the umbrella of under earning. I talk a lot about the equation of time, money, energy, family, and health.
Mm.
It's not just money. So at the end of the year, as we're doing an end of the year money review, money ritual, yes, look at your numbers. Yes, compare them this year to last year, or this year versus 7 years ago, or this year versus where you want to be going. Look at the numbers, what's working, what's not. But then also ask yourself on a deeper level, what phase of life am I in? Who
Yeah.
was I caring for? Parents, myself, animals, teenagers. How was I spending my time and energy and what's going on with family and health? So my old business partner who felt she was under earning because the equation of money was high, but she had no life. So she had to really adjust. She wound up starting her own business so she could have more time and all of that. I just think it's an ongoing practice. It's not like one day we wake up, we're like, I got this. I know my self worth. I'm on it. I think every day we're fine tuning, we're growing it, we're claiming it more. And there's always internal practices and external practices to be fine tuning. Another thing in my practices is I talk about Barbara Stanley's always saying, in order to move into a new phase or move beyond under earning, we have to stretch ourselves.
Oh my God.
Right? And guess what? In the stretching ourselves, it's not comfortable.
Mm.
Whenever I'm gonna give a talk to more people than I have before, the time I gave a talk to 100 people, I was so nervous. My body was giving me all sorts of signals, like, "What's going on?" When I gave a talk at the Lincoln Center in New York, I could barely stay in my body. I barely slept, And the first 30 seconds when the journalist, who's a brilliant journalist on CNN, who was hosting the panel I was on, when she asked me a question, what did I do? I actually did a verbal body check-in in front of thousands of people. And I looked up, I said, I've never spoken in front of this many people. I'm just going to check in with my body for a moment. Wow. Okay. This is big. Boom. I got back in my body and then I answered the question about couples. But if I hadn't verbally done some kind of checking in and acknowledging, I'm so scared and freaking out. And this is a new edge for me that I'm going through a threshold of right now. I wouldn't have been able to take myself through the threshold. So, part of becoming more visible, part of moving into a next level in our businesses and life is we are going to be stepping into some uncomfortable things. And hopefully, I like baby stepping incrementally, and then I like those big leaps that come, but I'm not a always big leaper.
Yeah, this year has been one of the stretchiest years of my life for sure. So,
Okay.
and it certainly is for a lot of people
It
in
is
this
for a
world,
lot of
for
folks. Yeah.
sure.
And me too in my own way. Yeah, in my own version of it.
Is there anything else you want to add that you just want to share, not necessarily about money, not necessarily about body, anything that you just want to soapbox about for a moment in this crazy world before I ask you my two last questions I ask everybody?
I would say that what's coming to me is just another teaching that I say and repeat is there's ebbs and flows in life and there's ebbs and flows in money. And I'm always surprised, like, I used to think there's not gonna be any or the same set of emotions that comes up in life comes up around money too, or there's ebbs and flows in life and money. So, what I wanna say about that, I guess it's going back to the year-end money ritual review or really what phase of life are you in? And not every year is a growth year and a saving more and giving more. Those are great years, but some years are maintenance years. Some years are maybe even going to a 0% credit card or just hanging in, or going into savings. So that's one thing is just please add in some of the somatic practices, which I'm sure you already talk about, which is slow it down. Listen to your own right pacing in life and money. Add in titration. When you're learning new things about money or new skills, or you want to learn about investing, or you want to learn a bookkeeping system, break it down into bite size chunks that are manageable, that your body can handle. As soon as you start noticing you're going into overwhelm, pause, stop. Again, go get a snack, go drink some water, go take a walk in nature, go put on some music and dance around your office and then come back and go, okay, now I'm going to take another next step on my money date to-do list. I'm going to do that scary thing. I'm going to do it. But make sure you give yourself the body check-ins and the prep before, during, and after. You keep slowing it down. You keep trusting your own pacing in life and in money.
So beautiful. And of course, in the show notes, there'll be all your information and your links because taking the art of money with Bari Tessler is definitely an amazing thing to do. I'm seriously considering doing it again myself this coming year. You just give so much to the world, Bari. I'm so grateful to all you've just shared.
Thank you. I hope that was helpful. Did we answer your
So
question?
helpful. I mean, I could keep going on for hours, but I need to let you go. And I just want to thank you personally because I really needed this for myself. And
Mm,
I know a lot of listeners do too. I know a lot of friends who will be listening. We've been having a lot of these conversations lately because the world is changing so fast.
yes.
We're all getting older. And as you just said so beautifully, our needs and the demands are changing a lot. And mortality is coming in more and more for some of us. And all these things, our legacy and what we want to leave and the investments we're making really affect our decisions, certainly that I'm in the midst of right now. So it was just really shed a lot of light and love for me.
Mm,
So thank you.
thank you.
The
Thank you.
last two quick questions.
Yeah.
How do you define embodiment?
Mm. Yeah, I'm not always so great at defining big terms like that, but for me, embodiment, it's why I went to graduate school at the age of 24. It was, I know I love being in my body and it can be so hard to get into my body, but it's such a good resource, but it can be so scary in moments. And I think embodiment is where we come in, we leave, we come in, we leave. I think that's okay. That's part of it. But so just giving yourself daily practices, whatever that is, if it is hiking in the woods, or for me, I'm trying to do some kind of movement exercise to
Mhm.
heal a knee injury that I got while doing a martial art for the first time at 55. And so it's just, saying, hello, body, checking in. What am I noticing? What am I feeling? Giving myself movement every day, just checking in with my body, sensations, emotions, breath in many, many moments throughout the day. And knowing that it's not going to always feel comfortable or good. That's embodiment. That's embodiment. Oh, and chocolate and
Of course. What would the world be
enjoying
without chocolate? Yeah.
and enjoying,
Yeah. And
sensate things.
maybe you
Yes.
just answered the question. What do you enjoy most about being your body, your particular body?
Hmm. Oh, for me, it's always been dancing, and I'm not doing that to the degree. But as my knee is healing, and I was just dancing we have one dog, three cats, and I was just fully dancing in front of my dog, going, "What do you think?" Like, so for me, it's always been some form of dancing movement is such a joy, pleasure. There's many more, but that's one.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah.
so great. You're a gorgeous human, Barry. You really are. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Thank you. Thank you. This was lovely, so lovely, and I'm so glad we did it.
Thanks so much for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed this episode, please give that like button a little click. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've got a bunch of fascinating guests lined up with trailblazing experts in the field that I'm really excited to share with you. I'm eager to hear from you too, so don't be shy. Drop a comment below. Share your thoughts, suggestions, or just say hi. Your insights on this episode mean the world to me. So go ahead, spread some love, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and share your thoughts below. Your support keeps this channel going strong, and I'm genuinely grateful for each and every one of you. Till next time, stay brilliant. I hope you found this episode inspiring. If you'd like to learn more about the many ways I'm encouraging and guiding the wider world to reclaim the brilliance of the body, please visit my website at www.alimezey.com. Thanks so much for listening. Until the next episode and beyond, reclaim your brilliant body. The Brilliant Body podcast was created by Ali Mezey. This episode was co-produced and edited by Ali Mezey and Florence Popoff. Thanks to composer Blair, Mr. One Man Band Wilson for my theme music.